I never imagined I'd be treated like a criminal at my own bank. Yet here I stand, my heart hammering against my ribs as security guards approach from both sides. The cold marble counter beneath my fingertips feels like ice as the branch manager's suspicious gaze cuts through me. "Ma'am, we'll need you to step aside," the guard says, his hand hovering near my shoulder. The bitter irony? I'm not just a customer. I'm an investor who owns part of this bank. My name is Jade Anderson, CEO of Crescent Holdings, and 4 minutes from now, I'll watch the manager who profiled me pack her desk and leave forever. But right now, with lights buzzing overhead and the faint scent of lemon cleaner filling my lungs, I'm just another black woman being humiliated while trying to access her own money. You must subscribe right now if you believe that no successful black executive should be treated like a criminal just for walking into a bank. Only those who stand against injustice will hit that button before this story begins. The morning begins like any other Monday in downtown Chicago. The January wind whistles between skyscrapers as I pull my navy blazer tighter, checking my watch. 9:07 a.m. Perfect timing for my unannounced visit to Paramount Bank's North Loop branch. My company, Crescent Holdings, recently led a major investment in Paramount's fintech division. Today I'm playing secret shopper, experiencing their customer service firsthand. I chose business casual attire deliberately, tailored slacks, and a simple blouse beneath my blazer to blend in rather than announce my executive status. Inside, the branch gleams with polished marble and mahogany. The line moves efficiently. I notice Maria Rodriguez at the counter, her name tag catching the light. She smiles warmly at each customer, maintaining eye contact and professional courtesy. Good signs. When my turn comes, I slide my driver's license and withdrawal slip across the counter. $10,000, please, I say pleasantly. From my business account. Maria's smile flickers. She glances at my ID, then at the withdrawal slip, then back at my face. Something shifts in her expression. This exceeds our daily limit, she says, voice lowering to a near whisper. I'll need to verify this amount with my manager. My stomach tightens. I've withdrawn similar amounts before without issue. It's for a corporate grant presentation this afternoon, I explain, keeping my voice steady. The funds are in the account. Maria nods, but I feel her scrutiny intensify. As she picks up the phone, I notice her finger hovering near a button beneath the counter. The silent alarm? Surely not. The bank's quiet buzz of activity continues around me. A printer hums in the back office. Someone coughs, 3 customers. Behind me, the clock on the wall ticks forward. 9:12 a.m. now. Marisol Lopez, the branch manager, emerges from her office. Mid-30s, sharp features, designer pantsuit. Her heels click purposefully across the floor as she approaches, clipboard in hand. She doesn't smile. I'm the branch manager, she announces, her tone clipped. We have protocols for large withdrawals. I'll need to see additional identification and business authorization. I maintain my composure, though my heart races. Of course, I reply, retrieving my corporate business card and my board resolution authorizing withdrawals. Standard documents any CO carries. Marisol examines them with narrowed eyes, flipping the papers over as if searching for forgery marks. The silence stretches uncomfortably. Other customers begin to notice, glancing our way with curiosity. These appear to be in order, Marisol finally says, but given recent fraud alerts, I'll need headquarters approval for this transaction. The funds will remain on hold until we complete verification. My cheeks burn. Excuse me. The words come out, measured, but I feel a knot forming in my throat. I'm withdrawing from my own business account. Every dollar in that account belongs to my company. Marisol's eyes flick down to my hands, then back to my face. Banking regulations, Ms. Anderson. We're just doing our due diligence. I glance around, suddenly aware of the spectacle forming. 2 security guards hover nearby, watching our exchange with practiced neutrality. Other customers pretend not to stare. Is there a problem with my account specifically? I ask directly. Or is this how you treat all customers withdrawing funds? Marisol's posture stiffens. We apply these protocols to any suspicious transaction. The word hangs in the air between us. Suspicious. Based on what criteria exactly? My withdrawal amount? My documentation? Or the fact that I'm a black woman in business casual attire rather than a power suit? I feel the weight of 1,000 Similar moments pressing down. Board meetings where I was mistaken for the secretary, elevator rides where fellow executives clutched their bags tighter, restaurants where I was seated by the kitchen despite reservations. I want to speak with. Corporate. I say quietly but firmly. Now? The clock on the wall reads 9:14 a.m. For minutes of my life, yet it feels like hours under the weight of suspicion and judgment. Little do they know, those 4 minutes will change everything at Paramount Bank. Don't scroll past if you believe Black excellence deserves respect. Hit subscribe now, because what happens next shows how power dynamics can shift in an instant when dignity refuses to bow to discrimination. 3 hours earlier, 6:15 a.m. My alarm cuts through the darkness of my downtown penthouse. CNN plays softly. As I prepare for the day, selecting my outfit carefully, professional but understated. A segment catches my attention, banking while Black, the continuing crisis of financial discrimination. The reporter details how a Black customer in Minnesota was handcuffed while trying to cash a legitimate paycheck. Another in Michigan had police called when attempting to deposit settlement checks. These weren't isolated incidents, but part of a pattern. Black customers facing extraordinary scrutiny for routine transactions that I switch off the TV, feeling a familiar weight settle on my shoulders. Success doesn't shield you from these moments. Sometimes it only makes them more jarring. My journey to becoming CEO of Crescent Holdings began on Chicago's South Side, where my mother raised 3 children on a teacher's salary. I earned scholarships through relentless study, worked through college at Northwestern, and climbed from intern to executive through sheer determination. Crescent Holdings now manages over $3 billion in tech investments. Last year, we expanded into financial services, investing $50 million in Paramount Bank's digital transformation initiative. My calendar reminds me of today's quiet branch visit, part of my due diligence to understand customer experience before our next phase of investment. "Your car is ready, Ms. Anderson," my assistant texts. I grab my bag and head down. Chicago's morning traffic crawls beneath gray skies. My driver, Jerome, navigates expertly while I review quarterly projections. "Big meeting today?" he asks. "Just a bank visit," I reply. "Nothing special." How wrong I would be. I think about Marcus Price, Paramount's chief banking officer. We met at Harvard Business School, became friends, and stayed connected as our careers advanced. He knows I'm visiting branches this week, but doesn't know which day or location. I want authentic experiences, not prepared performances. The car stops at Paramount's North Loop branch. "I'll be about an hour," I tell Jerome. The building's glass facade reflects morning light as I enter, joining the line of customers waiting for service. Now, standing at Maria's counter with Marisol scrutinizing my credentials, those news stories echo in my mind. I understand protocol. I've implemented similar security measures at my own company, but the suspicion in Marisol's eyes cuts deeper than mere procedure. "While we verify your documentation, please have a seat," Marisol instructs, gesturing to a row of chairs along the wall. "I prefer to stand," I reply calmly. "How long will this take?" "As long as necessary to ensure compliance," she answers, her tone suggesting I should be grateful for her thoroughness. I feel eyes on me from every direction. A young mother pulls her child closer, as if proximity to me might be dangerous. An elderly man pretends to check his phone, but watches our interaction closely. In these moments, your mind plays tricks. Did I dress too casually? Should I have announced my position immediately? Would that have helped or only made me seem defensive? The questions swirl as Marisol disappears into her office, my documentation in hand. Maria, the teller, looks uncomfortable. Her eyes meet mine briefly, apologetic but powerless. "I'm sure everything will be fine," she offers quietly. I nod, appreciating her kindness amid the tension. "Thank you, Maria." 10 minutes pass. Then 15. Customers come and go while I remain standing, refusing to be diminished by taking that seat. My phone buzzes, Marcus calling. I let it go to voicemail, determined to see this situation through without intervention. Not yet. Through the glass partition of Marisol's office, I see her speaking animatedly into her phone, gesturing at my paperwork. She glances out, catches me watching, and quickly turns away. I think about all the Black entrepreneurs I mentor through my foundation. What would I tell them to do in this situation? Stand firm. Document everything. Know your rights. Be professional but unwavering. Marisol emerges from her office, security guards now flanking her. My stomach drops, but I straighten my posture and keep my expression neutral. Ms. Anderson, she begins. Our verification process has raised additional concerns. We'll need to freeze this account temporarily while we investigate. On what grounds? I ask, my voice steady despite my racing heart. Irregular activity patterns, she replies vaguely. Protocol requires us to verify the source of funds for any withdrawal over $5,000 from accounts with your activity profile. The implication hangs unspoken. Accounts like mine. Black-owned. Successful beyond expectation. My activity profile. I repeat, please elaborate on what specifically triggered this concern. Marisol shifts uncomfortably. I'm not at liberty to discuss security algorithms. If you'd like to speak with corporate compliance, we can arrange that, but it would require scheduling an appointment for next week. Next week. As if my time, my money, and my dignity can be postponed at their convenience. Let me understand correctly. I say, loud enough for nearby customers to hear clearly. I'm the CEO of a company that invested $50 million in Paramount Bank last quarter. I'm here to withdraw $10,000 from my properly documented business account. And you're telling me I can't access my own funds without an investigation. A murmur ripples through the branch. Marisol blinks rapidly, clearly not expecting me to announce my position so publicly. Ms. Anderson, please lower your voice, she hisses. Security concerns are confidential matters. One of the guards steps closer. Ma'am, if you could come with us to discuss this privately. His hand hovers near my elbow, not quite touching, but implying restraint. The second guard positions himself between me and the exit. This is the moment that tests you, when you're faced with a choice between quiet compliance and standing your ground. Every successful Black person knows this crossroads intimately. I think about my mother, who taught middle school math for 30 years. How she stood before the school board when they tried to reduce resources for her predominantly Black students. How she never raised her voice, but never backed down either. I will not be moved from this spot, I state clearly, until you either process my withdrawal or provide documentation explaining exactly why you flagged my account. The clock reads 9:22 a.m. 15 minutes have passed since I first presented my withdrawal slip. 15 minutes of scrutiny no white executive would likely face. Marisol's jaw tightens. This is standard procedure for protecting our customers. If you continue to disrupt branch operations, I'll have no choice but to ask you to leave. Disruption? I echo. I'm standing quietly at your counter requesting access to my own funds. How is that disruptive? A woman in line pulls out her phone, angling it toward us. Recording. My heart races faster, but I remain composed. This moment is bigger than me now. I remember reading about Santor Thomas, the Air Force veteran whose legitimate $99,000 in settlement checks triggered a police response. How the bank quietly settled after the story went public. How nothing changed systemically. I'd like to speak with Marcus Price. I say finally, pulling out my phone. Your chief banking officer. Marisol's expression flickers with uncertainty. Mr. Price isn't available for customer service issues. He'll be available for this one. I reply, dialing his number. As the phone rings, I notice Maria's worried expression. She knows something isn't right here. Her eyes dart between me and Marisol, conflicted. Marcus answers on the third ring. Jade, how are you? How's the branch visit going? I keep my voice steady, professional. Marcus, I'm at your North Loop branch. I've been trying to withdraw $10,000 from my business account for the past 15 minutes. The branch manager has frozen my account. Security is hovering nearby, and I'm being treated like a criminal. I'd appreciate your intervention. The silence on the line speaks volumes. Then Marcus's voice, steel beneath the politeness. Put the branch manager on, please. I offer my phone to Marisol, whose complexion has paled considerably. It's for you. If you've ever witnessed power dynamics shift in real time, you know how the air itself seems to change. Like a current redirecting, like gravity reversing course. Hit subscribe now if you believe in accountability, because what happens next proves that discrimination can be challenged when you refuse to be silenced. 9:24 a.m. The branch has grown unnaturally quiet. Customers pretend to study deposit slips. while straining to hear Marisol's conversation with Marcus Price. Security guards exchange uncertain glances, their earlier confidence evaporating. Marisol holds my phone with a trembling hand. Yes, Mr. Price, I understand protocol, but she pauses, listening. Yes, we did verify her ID, but given the amount and the unusual, another pause. No, sir, I wasn't aware of her investment position. Her eyes dart to me, reassessing. I stand perfectly still, maintaining eye contact. This moment will define our power dynamic going forward. Yes, sir, I understand. Immediately, Marisol hands my phone back, her expression tight. Mr. Price would like to speak with you again. I take the phone. I'm here, Marcus. Jade, I apologize profusely for this situation. I'm connecting us to a video call with Robert Lin right now. Robert Lin, Paramount Bank CEO. This has escalated beyond even my expectations. That won't be necessary. I begin, but Marcus interrupts. It absolutely is necessary. Robert needs to address this personally. My phone screen splits, and Robert Lin's face appears. Asian American, early 50s, impeccable suit. His expression is grave. Ms. Anderson, this is completely unacceptable. Please accept my immediate apology. I understand you're at our North Loop branch. Yes, attempting to make a withdrawal from my business account and being treated with suspicion rather than respect, he finishes. Unacceptable. Please put me on speaker. I tap the speaker icon. Robert's voice fills the immediate area. This is Robert Lin, Chief Executive Officer of Paramount Bank. Who am I speaking with? Marisol steps forward, straightening her jacket. Marisol Lopez, Branch Manager, North Loop location. Ms. Lopez, can you explain why one of our most valued investment partners is being prevented from accessing her funds? The public nature of this conversation has drawn everyone's attention. Even the security guards look uncomfortable now. Marisol clears her throat. Sir, we were following protocol for large cash withdrawals. Our system flagged. Did our system flag Ms. Anderson specifically, or did you make that determination? Robert interrupts. A pause. The system flags all transactions over $5,000 for review, but discretion is applied by management. And you exercised your discretion to treat Ms. Anderson as suspicious rather than valued. Is that correct? The question hangs in the air. Marisol's face flushes deep red. Sir, I was following protocol, yes. But protocol requires judgment, Ms. Lopez. Judgment you've clearly failed to exercise appropriately. Robert's voice remains measured but carries unmistakable authority. Who else is present from management? Maria steps forward hesitantly. Maria Rodriguez, Senior Teller, sir. Ms. Rodriguez, please process Ms. Anderson's withdrawal immediately. Ms. Lopez, once that transaction is complete, clear your desk. Your employment with Paramount Bank is terminated, effective immediately. Gasps ripple through the branch. Marisol staggers slightly, as if physically struck. Mr. Lin, please, you were only perpetuating exactly the kind of discriminatory behavior our bank has publicly committed to eliminating. This isn't your first incident, Ms. Lopez. HR has notes from 3 customer complaints in the past year, all involving customers of color. We gave you additional training and opportunities to improve. Today demonstrates that investment was misplaced. 9:28 a.m. The branch feels frozen in time. Marisol stands motionless, her face a mask of shock and humiliation. Maria hurries to process my withdrawal, her fingers trembling slightly on the keyboard. Ms. Anderson, Robert continues. I'll be at the branch within the hour to speak with you personally, if you're willing. Marcus is already on his way. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate your swift response. My voice remains professional despite the chaos of emotions inside me. Vindication mixed with lingering anger and the exhaustion that follows these confrontations. Security guards have backed away, suddenly fascinated by distant corners of the ceiling. Customers whisper among themselves, several recording discreetly with phones. Marisol finally moves, walking stiffly toward her office. Her shoulders are rigid, her steps mechanical. The public nature of her firing has left no room for dignity or private processing. In another context, I might feel sympathy. Today, I can only think of how readily she was willing to humiliate me publicly. 9:30 a.m. Maria counts out $10 000 in crisp hundreds, arranging them in neat stacks. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Anderson," she whispers, genuine regret in her eyes. "I should have recognized you." "It's not about recognition, Maria. It's about equal treatment regardless of recognition." She nods, understanding dawning in her expression. "Yes, ma'am. You're absolutely right." The transaction complete, Maria hands me an envelope containing my withdrawal along with a receipt. Our fingers brush briefly, a human connection amid institutional failure. 9:32 a.m. Marisol emerges from her office carrying a small box of personal items. Her makeup is smudged beneath one eye, suggesting hastily wiped tears. She walks toward the exit without looking at anyone, her former authority stripped away in minutes. As she passes me, our eyes meet briefly. I see many things in that glance: anger, fear, perhaps even a flicker of recognition about what she's done. Without a word, she continues to the door and disappears onto the busy Chicago street. The remaining staff look shell-shocked, uncertain how to proceed. A security guard approaches cautiously. "Ms. Anderson, can I escort you to your vehicle?" The same guard who minutes ago was preparing to remove me from the premises. "No, thank you. I'll wait for Mr. Price and Mr. Lynn." 9:35 a.m. Marcus Price bursts through the front doors, slightly out of breath. Tall, athletically built despite his executive position, he scans the branch until he spots me. Relief floods his face. "Jade," he says, crossing the space between us in long strides. "I can't believe this happened. Are you all right?" "I'm fine, Marcus." I keep my voice even, though the adrenaline is beginning to fade, leaving me drained. "But we need to talk about what happened here today." He nods gravely. "Absolutely. Robert will be here soon. Would you prefer to wait in the conference room? Or would you rather leave?" "Whatever you want." The power has shifted completely. Now they wait on my preferences, my comfort, my decisions. The irony isn't lost on me. The conference room is fine. As Marcus leads me through the branch, employees watch with wide eyes. Word has spread rapidly about what transpired. I walk tall, my posture betraying none of the emotional turbulence within. The conference room is sleek and modern: glass walls, ergonomic chairs, a large display screen on one wall. Marcus pulls out a chair for me at the head of the table. "Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee?" "Water, please." As Marcus steps out briefly, I finally have a moment alone. My hands tremble slightly as I set my purse on the table. The $10,000 feels heavy in my jacket pocket. Money that should have been a simple transaction, but instead became a battleground for dignity. I check my phone. 3 missed calls from my assistant, wondering why I'm running late for my next appointment. A text from Jerome, still waiting outside. And a notification that someone has uploaded a video to social media with the hashtag #BankingWhileBlack. It's already gaining traction. 9:42 a.m. Robert Lynn enters without fanfare, closing the door behind him. His expression is solemn as he takes a seat across from me. "Ms. Anderson, I want to personally apologize for what you experienced today. It was inexcusable and reflects a failure in our training and culture that I take full responsibility for." I study him carefully. His apology seems genuine, but I've heard corporate contrition before. "What happens next, Robert?" He straightens, clearly prepared for this question. "Immediate action on multiple fronts. Ms. Lopez's termination is just the beginning. We're launching a comprehensive review of all customer complaint data from the past 3 years, broken down demographically to identify patterns. Mandatory bias training for all customer-facing staff, starting next week. And a formal review of our transaction flagging algorithms to ensure they're not creating discriminatory outcomes." "And what about the broader culture that allowed this to happen?" Robert nods, acknowledging the deeper question. "That's the hardest part, isn't it? Policies are straightforward. Culture requires sustained effort and accountability." Our eyes lock across the table. In this moment, we're not just CEO to CEO. We're two people confronting an ugly truth about the institutions we lead. "I'd like Crescent Holdings to be part of that solution," I say finally. Our investment came with the expectation of partnership. This is where that partnership matters most. If you believe in holding power accountable, hit subscribe now. The conversation about to unfold will change not just one bank branch, but potentially how Black customers are treated across the financial industry. 10:00 a.m. The branch conference room has transformed into an impromptu crisis management center. Robert Lin and Marcus Price sit across from me, their expressions grave as we discuss next steps. Two more executives have joined via video conference: Paramount's Chief Compliance Officer and Head of Diversity and Inclusion. The video is gaining traction, the DNI executive, Amara Jenkins, reports. Over 50,000 views already across platforms. Comments are overwhelmingly critical of the bank. Robert rubs his temples. We need to get ahead of this. Not with empty statements. I interject. People can smell insincerity a mile away. All eyes turn to me. In the span of an hour, I've shifted from suspected criminal to trusted advisor. The irony would be amusing if the underlying issue weren't so serious. What do you suggest? Robert asks. Transparency. Acknowledge what happened. Share concrete steps you're taking. And most importantly, connect it to the broader pattern of banking while black that customers experience across the industry. Marcus nods slowly, making it about systemic change rather than one isolated incident. Exactly. Because it isn't isolated, is it? I pull out my tablet, opening news articles. I'd bookmarked just that morning. Minnesota, Michigan, Georgia, California. Black customers handcuffed, questioned by police, accounts frozen, all for legitimate banking activities. The executives exchange uncomfortable glances. They know these stories. Paramount has an opportunity to lead here. I continue, not just with apologies, but with structural change. Robert leans forward. What kind of structural change are you envisioning? 3 things immediately. First, review and revise your flagging algorithms. Second, implement anonymous auditing using test customers of different backgrounds. And third, create consequences for discrimination beyond just firing one manager. The compliance officer speaks up. These all sound reasonable, but implementing them across hundreds of branches will be difficult. I finish. Of course it will. Dismantling biased systems always is. But consider the alternative: more videos, more lawsuits, more erosion of trust. Marcus pulls up a document on his laptop. We actually developed a plan similar to this last year, but it stalled in committee. Then uninstall it. Robert says firmly. Make it priority 1, effective immediately, 10:15 a.m. A knock at the conference room door. Maria Rodriguez enters hesitantly, carrying a folder. Excuse me, Mr. Lin, but I thought you should see this. She places the folder on the table. These are notes from Ms. Lopez's management meetings over the past year. They include instructions about certain types of customers. Robert opens the folder, his expression darkening as he reads. He passes a page to Marcus, who whistles low under his breath. What is it? I ask. Marcus looks up grimly. Informal. Quotas for additional verification, focused on predominantly Black and Latino neighborhoods. Disguised as enhanced due diligence, but clearly targeting specific demographics. The room falls silent as the implications sink in. This wasn't just one biased manager. It was systematic. Maria, Robert says finally, thank you for bringing this forward. Please close the branch for the remainder of the day. Full pay for all staff, but we need to conduct an immediate review. Maria nods and exits, her shoulders straighter than before. She's made a choice to stand for what's right, despite potential risks to her own position. 10:30 a.m. My phone buzzes with a news alert. Black CEO allegedly profiled at Chicago bank. Manager fired on the spot. The story is spreading faster than anyone anticipated. Robert receives the same alert, his expression grim. We need to make a statement. Not yet, I advise. First, understand the full scope of what you're dealing with. Those notes Maria brought, they suggest this goes beyond one branch. Marcus is already typing furiously on his laptop. I'm pulling transaction flag data from all Chicago branches, sorting by customer demographics. He pauses, studying the emerging results. It's not good, Robert. The disparities are stark. Robert stands abruptly, pacing the length of the conference room. How did we miss this? We have compliance reviews quarterly. Because you were looking at individual incidents, not patterns, I explain. And possibly because the people conducting the reviews shared the same biases. The truth of this settles heavily in the room. Even well-intentioned systems can perpetuate discrimination when the underlying biases remain unexamined. 11:00 a.m. Jerome texts again, concerned about my extended absence. I reply quickly, explaining I'll need at least another hour. My calendar for the day is effectively cleared. Some things take precedence over scheduled meetings. Robert returns to the table after a private phone call. The board is convening an emergency session this afternoon. They want you to attend, if you're willing. I consider this carefully. My initial impulse is to walk away, to let Paramount handle their own crisis. But there's an opportunity here to effect change from within. I'll attend, but I'm bringing my legal counsel. And I want Maria protected from any retaliation. Agreed on both counts, Robert nods. Maria's actions today reflect the values we claim to uphold. She deserves recognition, not punishment. This acknowledgement, that exposing discrimination should be rewarded rather than penalized, marks a significant shift in tone. Whether it translates to lasting change remains to be seen. 11:30 a.m. The conference room door opens again, and a woman in an impeccably tailored suit enters. Amara Jenkins. She introduces herself, extending her hand. Head of Diversity and Inclusion. We met on the video call earlier. Jade Anderson. I reply, shaking her hand firmly. Amara takes a seat beside me rather than with the other executives, a deliberate choice that doesn't go unnoticed. I've reviewed the initial data, she says, addressing everyone but looking at me. This isn't just a North Loop problem. We're seeing statistically significant disparities in transaction flagging across all Chicago branches, particularly in mixed-income areas. Robert's jaw tightens. Recommendations? Immediate suspension of the current flagging system. Manual review by senior staff until we can implement a revised algorithm. And public disclosure of the issue and our response. I study Amara carefully. Her recommendations align with mine, but there's something in her demeanor that suggests personal investment beyond professional responsibility. You've seen this before. I observe quietly. She meets my gaze directly. My father was a small business owner in Detroit. 3 decades of banking with the same institution. They still required additional verification every time he made a large withdrawal. She pauses. He never complained. I always wondered how many others stayed silent. This moment of shared understanding shifts the energy in the room. We're no longer just discussing abstract policies. We're acknowledging lived experiences that connect to broader patterns of injustice. 12:00 p.m. The bank has officially closed for the day due to technical issues, according to the sign hastily posted on the door. News vans have begun gathering outside. Alerted by the viral video and social media buzz, Marcus returns from checking on branch staff. They're shaken. Many had no idea about Ms. Lopez's directives. They thought they were just following standard procedures. That's how systemic bias works, Amara notes. It becomes normalized, invisible to those implementing it. Robert stands. Decision made. Here's what we're doing. First, I'm going outside to make a statement acknowledging what happened today and announcing immediate changes. Second, we're convening an independent review committee with community representation. Third, we're creating a restitution fund for customers who can demonstrate they were subjected to discriminatory practices. These are bold steps, far beyond the usual corporate damage control. I wonder if they would have happened without the public pressure, without the video, without my position as a major investor. And what about Maria? I ask. Promotion, Robert says without hesitation. She showed integrity under pressure. That's exactly the quality we need in leadership. 12:30 p.m. I finally step outside the branch, flanked by Marcus and Robert. The January cold hits like a physical force after hours in the climate-controlled conference room. News crews surge forward, microphones extended. Robert raises his hands for quiet. Earlier today, a valued customer and business partner experienced discriminatory treatment at this branch. That treatment resulted in the immediate termination of the responsible manager. But it also revealed deeper issues within our procedures that we are now addressing comprehensively. He continues outlining Paramount's response plan, his voice steady and words carefully chosen. I stand beside him, my presence lending weight to his promises of reform. When reporters call questions, many are directed at me. Ms. Anderson, will you be taking legal action against the bank? My focus is on systemic change, not individual redress. I reply. Paramount Bank has demonstrated commitment to addressing these issues substantively. I'll be working with them. to ensure that commitment translates to meaningful action. Another reporter, does this incident reflect broader issues in the banking industry? Absolutely. What happened today is not unique. Black Americans across the country face similar treatment when trying to access their own money. The difference today is that the response was swift and public. 1:00 p.m. The press conference concludes. Marcus walks me to my waiting car, where Jerome opens the door with obvious relief. I can't thank you enough for how you've handled this. Marcus says quietly. Many would have walked away, or worse, launched immediate legal action. The day isn't over yet, I remind him. I'll see you at the board meeting this afternoon. As Jerome pulls away from the curb, I finally allow myself to exhale fully. The tension of the morning has left my shoulders tight and my mind racing. I check my phone to find hundreds of notifications, messages of support, media requests, and trending hashtags referencing the incident. One text stands out from the rest, from my mother. Saw you on the news. So proud of how you handled yourself. Your father would have been proud too. Tears spring unexpectedly to my eyes. Through all the corporate response and public statements, this simple acknowledgement from the woman who raised me to stand tall in a world that often tried to diminish me. This matters most. The power has indeed turned, but the real work is just beginning. If you believe in systemic change rather than symbolic gestures, hit subscribe now. What unfolds next will show how institutions can be transformed when confronted with their own failings. 3 days later. The boardroom at Paramount Bank headquarters hums with tense energy. 14 executives and board members sit around a massive oak table, reviewing the preliminary findings of their emergency audit. I take my place at the table not as an outsider, but as a newly appointed special advisor to the Ethics Committee, a position created specifically in response to Monday's incident. Beside me sits Amara Jenkins, her presence equally significant as the first person of color to attend these meetings in Paramount's 87-year history. Robert Lynn calls the meeting to order. The numbers are clear and disturbing. He begins without preamble. Black customers were 4.2 times more likely to have transactions flagged for review than white customers with identical profiles. Latino customers, 2.8 times more likely. Murmurs ripple around the table. Some board members look genuinely shocked. Others seem unsurprised but uncomfortable having these facts stated so plainly. This isn't about individual prejudice, Robert continues. This is about systems we created and perpetuated. And it stops now. The Chief Technology Officer presents the revised algorithm for transaction flagging, developed in marathon sessions. Over the past 72 hours, the new system removes proxy variables that correlated with race or neighborhood. It focuses exclusively on factual indicators of unusual activity compared to the customer's own history. These technical changes matter enormously, but they're just the beginning. Next comes the cultural transformation, always more challenging than policy revision. Every branch manager will complete intensive bias training by month's end, Amara announces. But training alone isn't enough. We're implementing mystery shopper testing with demographic tracking to measure real-world treatment differences. A senior board member, white, male, late 60s, clears his throat. These measures seem extreme. One incident, regrettable. As it was not one incident. I interject firmly. The data before you proves that conclusively. What happened to me was merely the visible tip of a much larger problem. The room falls silent. My voice carries the weight of both personal experience and statistical validation, a powerful combination. Moreover, I continue. Characterizing addressing discrimination as extreme reveals exactly the mindset that allowed these practices to flourish. The board member flushes but doesn't respond. The balance of power in this room has shifted definitively. 1 week after the incident, I'm back at Crescent Holdings, reviewing quarterly projections when my assistant notifies me that Maria Rodriguez has arrived. Maria enters my office looking transformed, confident in a new suit, her posture straight and assured. As newly appointed assistant branch manager, she's taken on significant responsibilities with remarkable aptitude. Ms. Anderson, she begins, I wanted to thank you personally, not just for what you did that day, but for what's happened since. We talked for nearly an hour. Maria shares how the branch atmosphere has changed. More open discussions, more emphasis on equitable treatment, more diversity in the customers feeling comfortable enough to open accounts. We're not perfect, she acknowledges. Change doesn't happen overnight. But there's a new awareness, a new accountability. Before leaving, Maria hesitates. Have you heard about Marisol? I shake my head. She's been reaching out to former colleagues, claiming discrimination in her termination. Says she was just following policy and was made a scapegoat. This doesn't surprise me. Those accustomed to privilege often experience equality as oppression. The difference, I tell Maria, is that her claims will be investigated fairly. If policy truly directed her actions, then those who created that policy must also be held accountable. 2 weeks after the incident, the media coverage has evolved from sensational headlines to more thoughtful analysis. I've accepted select interview requests, using each as an opportunity to refocus the conversation on systemic issues rather than individual drama. But today's interview is with National Financial Journal, a respected publication with substantial influence in banking circles. Looking back, would you have handled the situation differently? The journalist asks that I consider this carefully. I stood my ground that day because I could. My position, my resources, my connections, they gave me power that most customers facing similar treatment don't have. The real question isn't how I responded, but what happens to those without my advantages. The journalist nods thoughtfully. Paramount Bank has announced several policy changes since the incident. Do you believe they go far enough? They're meaningful first steps, I reply. But lasting change requires sustained commitment beyond the initial crisis response. The true test will come 6 months, a year, 5 years from now. 1 month after the incident, Crescent Holdings launches the Financial Equity Initiative, a $5 million program providing resources and education to underserved entrepreneurs. The kickoff event features community leaders, financial experts, and, notably, senior executives from Paramount Bank. Marcus Price takes the podium after my opening remarks. What happened last month forced us to confront uncomfortable truths about our institution. But confronting truth is the first step toward transformation. He announces Paramount's commitment to match our $5 million investment, creating $10 million. Fund for community banking resources in predominantly Black and Latino neighborhoods. The audience applauds, but I notice the reactions vary. Some community members appear skeptical. They've heard corporate promises before. Others seem cautiously hopeful. Real change will be measured not in press releases, but in daily experiences. In whether Black customers can make routine transactions without extraordinary scrutiny. In whether financial institutions truly serve all communities equitably. 3 months after the incident, Maria calls with news that Paramount's internal investigation has concluded. Beyond Marisol's firing, 3 regional managers have been removed for implementing or encouraging discriminatory practices. The bank's head of security has also resigned. More significantly, Paramount has published a detailed report of their findings and corrective actions, an unprecedented level of transparency in the banking industry. The Chicago Tribune is calling it a new standard for corporate accountability, Maria tells me. Other banks are being pressured to conduct similar reviews. This ripple effect, from one confrontation to industry-wide scrutiny, demonstrates how individuals stands against injustice can catalyze broader change. 6 months after the incident, I return to the North Loop branch, this time announced and expected. The physical space looks the same, marble counters, mahogany desks, polished floors, but the atmosphere has shifted perceptibly. The staff is more diverse. The security guards greet customers with respectful nods rather than suspicious glances. Most importantly, I observe transactions being processed with consistent protocols regardless of customer appearance. Maria, now fully settled into her management role, gives me a tour of the changes, both visible and invisible: revised training materials, demographic tracking of service times, anonymous feedback mechanisms for customers. It's not perfect, she acknowledges. We still have work to do, but it's better. Better. Not fixed, not solved, but better. Progress measured in small daily improvements. Rather than dramatic declarations, I leave the branch. I notice a young Black woman at the counter, conducting what appears to be a routine transaction. The teller smiles, processes her request efficiently, and wishes her a good day. No extra scrutiny, No hovering security, no supervisor summoned. This ordinary moment, unremarkable in what should be its normalcy, represents the true measure of change, not in policy documents or press statements, but in the dignity of everyday interactions. The journey from discrimination to equity isn't completed in a single confrontation or corporate pledge. It's an ongoing process requiring vigilance, accountability, and persistent effort. But each step matters. Each stand against injustice creates possibility for the next. That if you believe in the power of confronting discrimination to create lasting change, hit subscribe now. Join us in documenting and demanding accountability when institutions fail to serve all people with equal respect and dignity. Point 1 year later. I sit in my office reviewing Paramount Bank's annual diversity and inclusion report. The statistics show measurable improvement, more diverse hiring at all levels, more equitable lending practices, more community investment in underserved areas. But statistics tell only part of the story. The true impact lies in thousands of individual experiences, customers entering banks without the weight of suspicion, employees feeling empowered to challenge biased practices, communities gaining access to financial resources previously beyond reach. The incident that January morning could have been just another indignity absorbed, another injustice endured in silence. Instead, it became a catalyst for structural change, not because I was wronged, but because I refused to accept that wrong as inevitable. This is the invisible battle fought daily by Black professionals, entrepreneurs, and customers across America, not just for personal dignity, but for systemic transformation that benefits all. The true measure of progress isn't in how I was treated that day, but in how the next person who lacks my position and privilege will be treated tomorrow. This fight continues. Battle by battle, stand by stand, change by change. Join us by subscribing now.